Hi, I'm Shree Rath. I study in AIIMS Bhubaneswar and I'm currently in second year. So, today I'll be discussing the NCERT solutions of the chapter Animal Kingdom. This chapter is one of the most important and so to speak लोगों को काफी ये difficult लगता है because there are so many classifications और सबका example and including the features उसे याद रखना है और ये काफी important है if you consider it from a perspective of your NEET questions क्योंकि इससे बहुत ज्यादा questions आता है तो इसका basics अभी करने के लिए I would like to start with the NCERT questions given at the end of the chapter so that a basic idea ho jayega and then you can practice MCQ related past year questions of the same chapter. So I'll start with the first question. What are the difficulties that you would face in classification of animals if common fundamental features are not taken into account? हमारा जो भी कॉमन फंडामेंटल फीचर्स हम यूज करते हैं जैसे कि अरेंजमेंट ऑफ सेल्स सिमेट्री या सीलोम उसे इफ वी डू नॉट यूज दैट then what are the difficulties we'll face? First, unrelated or I've written a few notes here. जैसे कि unrelated organisms will be grouped together. For example, we may group viviparous and oviparous animals together, or we may group annelids and platyhelminthes together, which are very separate groups and they have very unrelated features as well. Or each group का जो specific features है, for example, mammals, they have mammary glands, they have hair. ये सब features हम काफी confuse कर देंगे and it will be difficult to study group-wise specific characteristics. और एक important बात है because there are so many new organisms being discovered on a day-to-day basis. If we group it in a specific category, then it is easier for us to predict what kind of digestive system, respiratory system, or its reproductive features which may be present in the organism before actually studying it. So ये सब करने में difficult होगा if we do not follow a proper classification system. Second question, if you're given a specimen, what are the steps that you would follow to classify it? So basically, I would like to share this mnemonic with you, CINC. So when we encounter a new organism, what we do is characterization, identification, nomenclature, and classification. Characterization, for example, suppose you get a new species, then you would say, ki suppose uska, it has hair all over or doesn't have, or it's covered with scales. Aisa kuch characteristics are noted down. फिर identification of the organism, say it is a crab or it's like कोई भी proper identity उसे देते हैं and a nomenclature is given to it. जैसे कि हमारा Homo sapiens है, so a proper biological nomenclature is given to it and then it is classified according to this classification which is followed in this chapter. So classification हम करते कैसे? By arrangement of cells, body symmetry, nature of coelom, patterns of digestive, circulatory and reproductive system. And ये सबसे best दिया है on I've written it down here कि on the basis of levels of organization, Animalia can be classified into cellular or tissue, organ or organ system level of classification. Then we classify according to body symmetry, that is asymmetrical, radial symmetry or bilateral symmetry. Then we have a body cavity, acoelomata, pseudocoelomata and coelomata, and then we have classified it. And basically this simple diagram, which is also present in NCERT, can give us an idea. It is present here on this page. It will give us an idea of how to classify the organisms on the basis of which characteristics and help us remember these facts much easily. Then the third question, how useful is the study of the nature of body cavity and coelom in classification of animals? Body cavity, first, if it's lined by mesoderm, then it is coelomata. And you can see in this diagram I've given, coelomata is all organisms from annelid, arthropod, mollusk, echinodermata, hemichordata, and chordata. So all the organisms which are above, including the level of annelids. Then we have body cavity, which is not lined by mesoderm, and mesoderm is present as scattered pouches. So this is called pseudocoelom, and its example is Aschelminthes. And finally, we have no body cavity, that is Acoelomata, and that is Platyhelminthes in organisms which are below the level of Platyhelminthes level of classification. Fourth, distinguish between intracellular and extracellular digestion. Intracellular digestion matlab simply inside the cell. Matlab cell ke andar whatever you can think of the cell organelles which are present which help in digestion, wahi intracellular karta hai. And extracellular is frankly the simple thing which is present in us. In human beings, we have a proper alimentary canal, and obviously the food is not digested inside the cell. It is outside the cell, inside the system, जहाँ पर enzymes release होता है. So one first difference could be intracellular is inside the cell and extracellular is outside the cell. Second, enzymes. Enzymes are present in food vacuoles in intracellular organisms. But in extracellular organisms, we already know that there are glands which release various kind of enzymes, such as pancreatic enzymes are released, or enzymes are released in stomach, such as pepsin. So they are released from the cells outside, where inside the system they are being digested, but not inside the cell. Then diffusion in cytoplasm. Once the food is being digested, all the remaining residual material are released into the cytoplasm. But in extracellular, these are released into like we know digestion and absorption. So absorption occurs mostly in the intestine. So here only the food, whatever is there, such as glucose or amino acids, these are released into the surrounding of the cells and rather not inside of the cell. Obviously, intracellular way of digestion is less efficient, and there is no regional differentiation. In extracellular regional differentiation, what basically it means that in our alimentary canal, we can differentiate it into the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and large intestine also has different parts. So, and each of the specific parts have their own function. For example, stomach is primarily for protein digestion, but in intracellular, there is no such classification between these components of who will digest what. It's just a food vacuole which has its own enzymes and it will digest it. So example of intracellular is mostly followed by unicellular organisms, but extracellular digestion is followed by all the higher organisms, including humans. Next question. What is the difference between direct and indirect development? Indirect and direct development basically means that if it's direct, then the young ones resemble their adult forms. There is no larval stages between them. For example, if you consider, say, butterfly or cockroach, then in cockroach, you have various kind of stages which follow one after the other, and there are changes in them. Gradually, they develop from a nymph stage to an adult form. And even most of it in its larval stage, there is no wings formed, and only in the adult, you'll find wings in cockroaches. Similarly, in butterfly, you have the caterpillar, which is the young form, and then you have the butterfly, which is after the metamorphosis. So basically in direct, there is no metamorphosis, there is no intermediate stages, and young ones resemble the adults. And examples of direct can be hydra and obviously man. But in indirect, we can consider all the arthropods, almost all the arthropods, they follow indirect development. 6. What are the peculiar features that you would find in parasitic platyhelminthes? If you can analyze it, why will it have these kind of features? It will be easier to remember. For example, the thick tegument on its body, which is resistant to host digestive enzymes. For example, if you have a parasitic platyhelminthes, say a Taenia solium in your intestines, then it has a kind of body covering which will prevent its digestion from the enzymes which are released in the intestine. Secondly, adhesive organs such as suckers in flukes and hooks and suckers in tapeworms. These are obviously helping it to attach itself to some kind of surface, and during peristalsis in our digestive system, it prevents it from being it keeps it attached to its surface without allowing its detachment and being excreted in feces. Loss of locomotory organs. There is no need for locomotion in parasitic platyhelminthes. They are fixed to their location, and there only they are present. They derive their nutrition and they divide there. And from nutrition comes the next point, that digestive organs are not required in them, because already the partially digested food, for example, the food, suppose you eat it, and by the time it goes to your small intestine, it is already partially digested, and there are enzymes there which help in its further digestion. So parasitic platyhelminthes don't really require their own digestive organs since they get partially digested or completely digested food directly. Reproductive system is best developed in parasitic flatworms, obviously because since they are parasitic and they derive nutrition from the host, they need to replicate or reproduce at a very fast level so that it promotes their survival. Finally, some of them perform anaerobic respiration. This can help in harsh situations and their survival in harsh situations, especially when they're outside of their host's body. And they possess a considerable osmotic adaptability as they can successfully live in different media. Same as the previous point, because it has these kind of adaptable features, it provides it a survival advantage. Fine. Next question. What are the reasons that you can think of for the arthropods to constitute the largest group of the animal kingdom? Arthropods, as in the first line of NCERT in the arthropods group, it is given that it is the largest group of the animal kingdom, and there are two main reasons for it. First, it has a thick chitinous covering or exoskeleton, and it has a very fast rate of reproduction. Basically, you can see, for example, flies or cockroaches, you see that a single organism can very rapidly multiply into a lot, and they are very resistant to outside external harsh environment. They can survive at very high degrees of temperatures just because of this chitinous exoskeleton that they have, which gives them an advantage to withstand any kind of harsh environmental conditions. Water vascular system is the characteristic of which group? Obviously, it is Echinodermata. And all of these, basically this table is the gist of this chapter, which has to be remembered. And you can see water vascular system, which is present under Echinodermata. Next, all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. In the first and the second chapter, we've already learned about how the classification occurs from kingdom, phylum, class, family, and the complete classification up till the level of genus and species. So chordata is the phylum, and it is divided into subphyla, which is urochordates, cephalochordates, and vertebrata. And what are their own characteristics? Urochordates have their notochord persisting only in the tail region. Cephalochordates have their notochords present from head to tail, and it persists throughout life. Vertebrates, their notochord is present only in the embryonic period, and it is replaced by a cartilaginous or bony vertebral column in adults. So obviously vertebrates is a class, is a subphyla which comes under chordates, and thus all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates, and those chordates which are not vertebrates are urochordates and cephalochordates. 10th question, how important is the presence of air bladder in Pisces? In fishes, obviously, we know that air bladders are present and they give them a hydrostatic ability, and that is buoyancy. That is, they help them to remain at a static level without being influenced by the downward pull of gravity or any other external forces. It helps them to keep a normal level inside of the water. It also helps them in breathing, as it can store some amount of air inside it. And some also say that it can help them to produce some kind of sounds while communicating with other fishes. So those are the uses of air bladder. What are the modifications that are observed in birds that help them to fly? Birds, the first important thing is pneumatic bones. That is bones that is hollow or air-filled bones, as you can say. It reduces their weight and helps them to fly. Forelimbs are modified to wings, obviously, and they have very strong flight muscles, which helps them to flap their wings to fly. There are feathers present. These feathers kind of reduce the air resistance as they fly, so that there'll be less energy used in overcoming air resistance. Most of, like all of the birds except Rhea have no urinary bladder, and they have only one ovary present. So all of them kind of reduce the weight of the organs so that there'll be less pull of the gravity, and they'll be easily flying without spending much energy. And they are warm-blooded organisms, and they have four-chambered hearts. Four-chambered hearts give them enough blood pumping and circulatory ability to be able to do such kind of energy-intensive things such as flying. 12th question, Could the number of eggs or young ones produced by an oviparous and viviparous mother be equal, and why? Obviously, no. And this example can be given, say, viviparous, you consider humans, and oviparous, you consider frogs. Some of you must have seen those kind of the spawn of eggs that they lay. There is a large number of eggs, and the reason is oviparous means the eggs are released outside, so they're exposed to the harsh environmental conditions, and they're also exposed to predators, as predators can spot these eggs and eat them. So obviously they have a survival disadvantage due to these eggs being present outside, and therefore a large number of these eggs has to be released outside, so that there'll be more advantage for one of them to survive. But in viviparous, the eggs remain inside the body, so obviously they are not exposed to predators, nor they are exposed to the harsh environmental conditions. They're kept protected, so less energy can be spent on forming these eggs. So very less number of eggs are produced by viviparous mothers. 13. Segmentation in the body is first observed in which of the following? Again, the same table. Under segmentation, you can see it is first starts from the annelid class and is present henceforth except for mollusks and echinodermatas and hemichordates. It is mostly present in annelid, arthropod, and chordates. 14th question, match the following. So first we have operculum. Operculum is present in Osteichthyes. So I'll be just giving 1 or 2 points related to these matching. That is, operculum is present in Osteichthyes, and they have 4 pairs of gills which are covered by operculum. Parapodia is present in annelids, and aquatic annelids such as nereis, they have lateral appendages which are called parapodia, and they help in swimming. Scales, they're obviously present in reptilia. Since reptilia are terrestrial organisms, to minimize the amount of water loss, bodies are covered by dry cornified skin, which is epidermal scales or scutes. Comb plates, these are present in Ctenophora. There are 8 external rows of ciliated comb plates which help in locomotion. Radula, these are present in mollusks. Their mouth have a file-like rasping organ for feeding. They basically help them in feeding. Hairs are an exclusive feature of mammalia. Some of these points have to be remembered on exclusive features of mammalia. One of the most important is presence of mammary glands, and the next is hair. Choanocytes, these are present in porifera. They are collar cells which line the spongocoel and canals. And gill slits, these are present in cyclostomes and chondrichthyes. Again, I repeat the first point that there is no operculum present in chondrichthyes. Operculum is only present in Osteichthyes. 15th question, prepare a list of some animals that are found parasitic on human beings. Taenia solium, this is basically from eating pork, which is infected by these tapeworms, since they have a life cycle which is dependent on humans and also in pig. Wuchereria, it causes filariasis. Wuchereria bancrofti, it basically affects the lymph nodes and can cause swelling, which is known as elephantiasis. And schistosoma is a blood flu, which also causes the disease. And it is all of these are endoparasites. Endoparasites mean they live inside of the human body, inside the digestive system. Any example of ectoparasites could be, for example, lice, which is present outside of the body on the hair. So that is an ectoparasite. So these are all the questions of the chapter Animal Kingdom. And right now, after practicing these questions, you should kind of see where these answers are present in NCERT. All the answers that I've given are basically lines of NCERT. And try to practice more MCQ questions from past year papers or from different books. Thank you.